Hello and welcome to QuickTip 95. In this quick tip, what we're going to be doing is drawing a rectangle using DateTime points between two values and between two price levels. So let's have a look at the syntax, and starting off with a simple case and then getting a little more complicated. So very simply, the syntax is rectangle.create and then a start date time point and an end date time point. So a couple of things to look at. What is box and what are date time points? Well, first of all, box, that is set up as a rectangle with null. In other words, something similar would be like double and then a value and then, or rather a variable, and then a value which would be 0 in the case of an integer, or a double. In this case it's an object, so put null in there. And then the second thing is, what are datetime points? Well, what we have in the program as inputs, a start time and an end time, just in simple time format. But what we first of all need to do is convert that into date time format, and we can do that using the from el data and time method. You can right click and look at the definition to understand what the inputs for that are, but basically we have date, then we have time, and then we have seconds. And similarly for the end time, which we're calling dt end time. And then what we need to do is convert the start time as a date time into the date time point, and we do that using the create method, the inputs being the date time and then the value of the price. So that's what we're using as our inputs in this syntax here, and then the rest of it is just doing things like changing the color of the borders using color box.color equals and the color of the fill. Now what we're doing here is converting a color in quotes using color.fromName. That's from the color class, and similarly for the fill color we're doing it from arg or ARGB, and we're doing that because we want to use transparency, and the transparency is going to be value between 0 and 255, so we can make the color a little more transparent. And then we've got the fill pattern, the weight, in other words the weight of the border, and whether it persists. Now the persist is important because there are some instances where you might apply or create a rectangle, apply it to the chart, but then if you do not set it up as persist, then it will disappear immediately. So we've set that up as true, and then we add the drawing object to the chart using drawing objects.add, the box being the name of the rectangle that we just created. And then a little bit extra syntax, what I've done is cleared the print log, and then for each tick what I'm doing is printing the date, time, and then the number of rectangles on the chart, and we get that from drawing object.items square brackets 9, the 9 referring to the rectangles. And again, you can right click on any of these to see more details. So let's apply this to the chart and see what we get. Go to studies, edit studies, and I'm going to set that on to on, and you'll see that we have a rectangle drawn, and we'll see we've got some text down here. Now you'll notice, if you were looking closely, that the color of that changed, and as you can see now it's saying that we've got 53, 54, 60, 64 of these rectangles drawn. So what's actually happening is, because the program is running every tick, essentially we're recreating rectangles and reapplying them in the same position on the chart. So that's one issue. The other one is, if we were to go into the studies and put in a date beyond the end of the chart, so let's say we put in 10 as an end time, which is not on the chart at the moment. So there we have it, 10, and you'll see that the rectangle has disappeared, although apparently it's still the number of rectangles being counted is still going up. So we've got a couple of things to sort out, and the way we're going to do that, I'm just going to comment out this initial first program and uncomment a slightly more sophisticated second program. Okay, so going to verify that, and let's just see how that works on the chart. So you'll see now that we have the rectangle applied. And as you'll see from the number down here, it's not continually recreated. Now you'll notice though that the end of this rectangle ends at the moment at 9, whereas we've set the end to 10. Well, if we keep on watching, what will happen is as each bar goes along, it will be extended to the new value. So that means that eventually, after we get to 10 o'clock, we'll have the whole rectangle and then it will stop being adjusted. So how do we achieve that? Well, let's go back to the program, and you'll see that the first important thing is that we use this if box equals null. In other words, if a box hasn't been created yet, and only then if the bar date time is greater than the start time. In other words, the last bar on the chart is greater than the start time, then what it does is create the box. That means that we don't get this continual recreation. Apart from that, you can see that the syntax is actually the same there that we just had. Now the other problem that we had was that if the end bar wasn't on the chart, then we didn't see the rectangle. So what I've done is I've said if the bar date time, and remember we're talking about the last bar on the chart, if that is less than or equal to the date time end time, then in other words the DT end time is somewhere to the right of the chart, then what the program does is it sets the endpoints. Another syntax that we get with rectangles. And again, if you just type in, for example, box and then dot, you'll see all the options. But if we set box dot set end time to date time point, then we create that using the bar date time as opposed to the end time. And that corrects the problem. So if we were to keep on watching this, you would see that we would create each new bar created, we would get a new the box extending until the end time is reached. So what I'm going to do is just set this chart up with a slightly smaller bar length, and then hopefully we'll be able to demonstrate that properly. Okay, so I've got this set, got it applied to a 10-second euro dollar chart, and let me just go in and change the values a little bit. It's fairly fast moving, so I'm going to say 10:53 to a time after the end of the chart. So let's say 11:06. And let's change the values here a little bit. So 66 and 75, sort of 8. Okay, that looks fine. Okay, so we can see the inputs. The final value 1106 is after the end of the chart. We can see that the value at the moment is about 1103. So what I'm going to do is leave this running. As we get new bars, what you'll see is the rectangle will extend as it just did, and that will keep on happening until we get to that final bar. So I'll leave the video running and we'll see what happens. And what I'll probably do is just speed it up or cut out some of the unnecessary time. Okay, so we can see that the 1106, there was a bar on 1106 as it happened, and the rectangle has now stopped being developed. So just one thing I should just mention is I did just correct a mistake in the program, in that the should say here last bar on chart X rather than just last bar on chart. Okay, well, hopefully you might find this useful. You can copy and paste it in. Don't forget the namespaces, of course, where some of the classes that we used are situated. If you are a Gold Pass member, you can just copy and paste what we've done here. Otherwise, please subscribe to this YouTube channel or to Markplex, MarkPlex.com to receive updates of new tutorials and quick tips and programs. Thank you very much.